TCR is brought to you by Hoheim Prairie Insurance, Texans serving Texans since 1892. Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, conserving our wild things and wild places. And visit Big Bend, another world right here in Texas.
Kelli and I want to welcome you to this, the final episode of the 52nd year of this program. And as it turns out, this will also be the final episode for Kelli and me after 52 plus years of traveling the backroads of Texas. We've decided it's time to let somebody else do the driving.
Bob's been traveling the Lone Star State since 1972, and what an incredible journey it's been for him, and for the past several years, for me too. But we've decided it's time to turn over the keys to a new storyteller.
His name is J.B. Sauceda, and he is a curious and proud Texan, traits we think are necessary for this job. And so, starting this September, he will be the one escorting you down the back roads in search of more stories about great people and the places where they live.
Oh, yeah? So for one last time, Bob and I would like to invite you to hop in and travel with us. I'm Kelli Phillips.
And I'm Bob Phillips, and this is Texas Country Reporter.
How about you just hop in and travel with me?
Hop in and travel with us.
This is where they used to fix they used to repair
city vehicles.
This was a roll-up door, and when we first got into the place, they still had the engine hoist in the middle of the room.
It was cool. It was cool to be in a garage. It was definitely a vibe that we can work with.
Back in the day, there was no better place for city vehicles to get a tune-up than this tiny shop in downtown Rockwall. But things have changed over the years. Grease-covered hands have been replaced with flour-caked fingernails, and instead of fixing Fords, they're whipping up piping hot pies. I want to know from you, how did you get started with, of all things, a pie company? Where did this idea even come from?
My grandmother taught me. I had kids. I was up a lot. I was around the house a lot. And I needed something to take my time up, and so I wanted to start baking pies. My grandmother always baked them. They seemed like it was very calming for her, and I always liked to bake in general. So she came over one day and showed me how to make a lemon meringue pie, and it took me about 8 hours.
To make one pie?
To make one pie. So I saw how slow the process was, and I loved the crust making part. It was very calming and very distracting. I don't know, it just kind of spoke to me, and I really enjoyed it.
Did you grow up baking?
I did not grow up baking. There's a lot of cooks in my family, so just grew up cooking, and then I became a fireman. But baking, that was all Brittany.
Brittany Harden and her husband Chris had no idea that first lemon meringue would pave the way to their pie emporium. And after years of tweaking Grandma's old recipes, Bonafide Betty's was born.
So you want this back?
Yes, please.
I get mine back.
No.
Yes. Jeez.
Now, we have to admit, one bite is all it takes to see why USA Today chose this place as the best pie shop in all of Texas. From fresh homemade crust to the unique flavors, people can't seem to get enough of Bonafide Betty's pies. And for Brittany, there's no better way to honor her grandmother. Tell me about your grandmother.
She was awesome. She, favorite person to hang out with. Favorite person to hang out in the summertime. That's why, sorry, it's very nostalgic for me. It smells like her house, minus the cigarette smoke and the bacon smell. She loved it. She actually did get to see this, so it's cool to keep going with it, and you know, and her pies too. I mean, these are all her pies, her legacy for sure. And so I think she really enjoyed seeing that this continued. You know, this ended up starting as a hobby and now has continued as a career, and it's a legacy. It's nice to see her stuff go on.
Hi, Bob and Kelly. It's Lyle Lovett. I just want you to know how much I enjoy watching you on television, and I appreciate everything you've done for all of us who are from Texas and thought we knew about every place in Texas. You have shown us more than we knew, and you've just turned our home state into a wonderful new world to discover. We thank you for everything you've done, and we wish you the best of luck in the future. We'll miss you.
Hello, Bob and Kelly. From the Pleasantville Quilters, we want you to know we're going to miss you, and congratulations on your retirement.
Patriotism, what does that mean to you?
I'm free. I can do and say what I like if it's within reason. And I've spent, I don't know how many different countries I've been in, and we're the only one that are truly patriotic.
A classroom door buried in the middle of Del Mar College's campus is wide open, allowing the familiar tune of our national anthem to ring through the halls. At first glance, the gathering inside doesn't seem to have much in common, what with a wide variety of age, ethnicity, and genders being present. But a closer look at the stitching on the various baseball caps and the solemn salutes of soldiers tells a different story. This is not your typical classroom lecture, but a meeting for the men and women that once risked their lives for our country.
The Veterans Roundtable is a group of people we started about almost 15 years ago, and we have people come in to help veterans. We have veterans and their wives come in. We try to, well, we say that we inform, educate, and assist is what we do, and it's just a bunch of volunteers. And from that, about 6 years ago, we also now have a Veterans Radio Roundtable on Saturdays for 2 hours, which we do the same thing.
For 21 years, Dotson Lewis served in the United States Army as a school teacher and combat man. Since retiring, he's continued to teach servicemen and women, just in a different capacity. Every Thursday, Dotson and his friend Martha DeSimon get together to help the veterans from Tuesday's Roundtable session share their stories.
So I think the last time we were talking about your Vietnam short stories. Let's go to each of those short stories. Which one sticks out? Because I know you have 3 Purple Hearts. Which one would you, let's elaborate on it.
But for these 2 instructors, the hardest part of their job isn't being thesauruses for these newly established authors. It's getting the stories out of them in the first place. Stories that oftentimes bring back memories many don't want to remember.
I think there's a lot of sadness, underlying sadness to it, and there's a lot of pride. And it's difficult to expose your emotions and share that with others. So I feel very honored and grateful that they open up. They are a proud group of men and women. And so to be able to get them to talk was a huge accomplishment.
When you first come back, you just don't want to talk about it. I'm sure glad to be the heck out of there. Don't talk to me about that. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to repeat it. And that happened to a lot of World War II veterans, particularly in the islands and all that. And some of it came out of, like the gentleman, he's gone now, was talking here about the Battle of the Bulge and what happened with that area when he got surrounded. And people don't want to, I'm out of it, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to hear about it, I don't even think about it anymore. Maybe that's part of the mindset.
When Dotson and Martha are finally able to get these warriors to reopen their wounds, a powerful message spills out. One so powerful they can't let it just be contained to paper. Every Saturday morning, the local radio station, 98.7 Keys, invites Dotson and his fellow veterans to share their stories on air in hopes of spreading awareness of the reality of war and preserving the history some want to rewrite.
For almost 30 years aboard the Lexington, there was this Japanese flag, and it had all these signatures in Japanese. Most recently, news came in, these are good luck flags. And so
the saying, once a soldier, always a soldier, never rang more true with each story this duo helps share. While many of the veterans Dotson and Martha work with don't always understand the significance of their stories, documenting these veterans' lives does more than give their families a book to read or something to listen to on their morning commute. Documenting these veterans' lives means they will always be remembered as warriors of the battlefield and of history, as their fight to preserve history is equally as important as their fight to protect our country.
Because history historically is constantly rewritten, and it needs to have accuracy. It needs to have consistency, and you won't get that unless it is documented and you're going to the source, and it can carry forward after they have left us. I want to keep it, I want that story continued.
What's on the tombstone doesn't say anything really. We used to put with such and such certain time. In fact, our cemetery here does on occasion. You're limited to what you can put. But just the date of birth, what does that mean? The day you were born, the day you died, and what have you left them? You need to leave them something. But I think we need to leave as much history as we can, and maybe somebody will be interested in it.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Kelly.
Doris and I, we are the #1 fans of Texas Country Reporter in Switzerland. We even raised the flag of the Republic to wish you the very best for your future plans. But remember, the eyes of Baden are upon you.
Hi, TCR family. You might not recognize me, but I'm confident you recognize this place, the Regency Bridge, which makes an appearance on TCR every week. My name is JB Salceda, and starting this fall, I have the absolute honor of hosting Texas Country Reporter. But before we travel the back roads of Texas together, I wanted to return to this iconic place so we could have a look back at an iconic Texas career.
But here in the East Texas town of Gilmer, they're famous for a certain kind of food that, well, most people would just rather not talk about.
It all started in 1972 when Bob Phillips and a small group of reporters and photographers began a weekly program on Channel 4 in Dallas called 4 Country Reporter. The idea was to hit the back roads and small towns to ask hard-hitting questions about Watergate and Vietnam. But everything changed when Bob asked a new question. Does a cow stand up with its front or back legs first?
Well, I think they stand up on their front legs first.
Back legs? Well, actually, they stand up on their front legs first, and then they lift themselves up with their back legs after that. No, I don't believe so. They stand up on their back legs first.
The mission of the show soon became clear: to spotlight uplifting stories and unsung heroes, to seek out Texans off the beaten path who define the attitude and the character of our great state. The result was a hit in North Texas, and in 1986, Bob and his crew struck out on their own to take the show statewide.
Why don't you hop in and travel along with me?
I'm Bob Phillips.
This is Texas Country Reporter.
Kelli joined up a couple decades after that, and now this journey down the back roads has been going on for an unprecedented 52 years and counting. Along the way, Kelli and Bob have introduced us to amazing dogs, baking brothers, hardworking farmers, and loving mothers.
You know what that's called, don't you? It's being a mom.
Thanks to TCR, we meet musicians, ranchers, and artists, learn culture and history, and find out where to get some pretty good chicken fried steak too.
The large chicken fry is supposed to be 3/4 of a pound, but it's more than that.
In other words, Bob and Kelli have shown us the myth and majesty of Texas. But most of all, they've proven that there's always more to discover around every bend in the back roads.
So Bob and Kelli, let me join everyone in saying thank you, not just for creating the show, but for passing it down so it can be enjoyed for generations to come. It is truly something special. But don't just take it from me. Take it from the TCR family, who's been reaching out nonstop to let us know exactly how much the show means to them.
Well, Bob and Kelli, to say we're going to miss you, it'd be an understatement. So many nights when I was tired and aggravated and I just wanted to chill out, I'd turn on Texas Country Reporter. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, not a bad place to live, but if you ask me, where would you go if you went somewhere else? I go, probably somewhere in Texas, and I'd look at Texas Country Reporter. You were 10 stars in our world. Thank you.
I have been a fan and have been watching for about 45 years. My mom and my sisters and I used to sit around the TV and love to see your shows and the interviews that you did, and especially all the wonderful places that you got to travel to and live vicariously. Good luck to you. Have a great day.
From the people who have watched your shows on a weekly basis, we say thank you for giving us wholesome stories to watch about people who prove that there is truly goodness in our world. Your stories have made us feel good about our neighbors and given us hope for our future.
It was the 1970s. We would go and visit my grandmother in Austin. And no matter what was going on, we would stop what we're doing and watch Texas Country Reporter. Congratulations, best wishes, and thanks for the memories.
My wife Kay and I cannot tell you how much we have appreciated the many, many years, the many episodes of watching all that you have done across the state of Texas. We personally have been to all the 254 counties. We've driven the circumference of the state several times. We are always excited when watching the episodes to say, we've been there. And we thank you again for reporting it so beautifully over all these years. We will definitely miss you. God's blessings upon your retirement.
Bob and Kelli, I would like to say a huge thank you for 52 years of quality television programming and telling the stories of ordinary Texans doing extraordinary things. Mary and I want to wish both of you the best for all of your future adventures and undertakings.
A lot of you have shared some great messages with us about this program and what it means to you.
That means more to us than we could ever tell you. But the gratitude goes both ways. And I don't think that Kelli and I could sign off without thanking you for everything. You know, when I started this gig, I was just a kid, and you supported the dream and watched me grow up and grow old through the magic of television.
And for me, after a career of being a news reporter and a news anchor, this has been a dream job. Although it's not really a job, it has truly been an honor.
You know, TCR started 52 plus years ago as a simple idea, a show about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. A simple idea that because of you and your support became magical. And I want you to know that in all our travels past and all our travels yet to come, we will never find better friends than you. To quote the words of a George Strait song, I was a young troubadour when I rode in on a song. I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone.
And so for the last time on this program, we'd like to thank you for hopping in and traveling with us. I'm Kelli Phillips.
I'm Bob Phillips, and this is Texas Country Reporter. So long for now.
TCR is brought to you by Hoheim Prairie Insurance, Texans serving Texans since 1892. Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, conserving our wild things and wild places. And Texas Kubota Dealers. Kubota, together we do more.